Plants. They're everywhere. This is a story about how plants can change our lives, shape our reality, heal us, and maybe, if you let them, save you.
So whenever I start a prayer circle or a ceremony, I always start by clearing the room of any energies that do not serve me or anyone else that's here. And the best way I do that is how I've been taught by the grandmothers, the moon dancers of Mexico. So my birth name is Maria Jasna Orshanic. I go by Jasna, which means bright in my language. I'm born in 1974 here in beautiful Canada. My parents are immigrants. My mother's from Bosnia, and my father's from Croatia. I'm not going to say that I was raised in a very strict Catholic household, because I wasn't. Although both my mother and father showed a lot of respect to the Catholic Church, it wasn't like a driving force in our household.
So my name is Brendan Coates. I'm also known as the Gut Whisperer. People call me that. And I am a health practitioner. I've been practicing clinical nutrition for over 10 years now. I've got over 10,000 hours in substance abuse. So I've worked with 2 different clinics helping men and women recover from substance abuse, as well as my own clinical practice. That's where the 10,000 hours comes in.
All right, so I'm Jermaine Toriano. I am a police officer of 20 years, and I currently am a breathwork facilitator and a plant medicine integration coach.
My name's Jen Thompson. I am a psychotherapist, social worker, homesteader, barber. What else do I do? A little bit. I work on my homestead. I have my studio on site, and I do one-to-one counseling sessions with people and couples, and now I'm doing a lot of shamanic work and healing in my space, among other ceremonial type of work.
So, my name is Joey Jack Fondino Damiani. Born May 18th, 1985. I'm a Taurus bull, very hard-headed and stubborn. That is a fact. How to describe myself? Part of me wants to describe old Joey because it was such a big part of my life. That addict, that drug dealer, whatever you want to call him. He plays a big role in my life. So, I will show him a little bit of attention for sure, because he's brought me to where I am today, which is, I'll never regret any of those things because I am who I am today because of that. But to describe myself today in this physical form at this moment, honestly, I'm just a teddy bear.
My name's Aaron McLean. I would define myself as a conscious human being that is a leader of change. And by that, I mean that I'm someone that is living consciously in harmony with the planet. I'm someone that is utilizing their gifts in order to create positive impact. What I would call is holistic coaching, which is that I support individuals in seeking and understanding their purpose. I support individuals in their healing, and that takes on many different dimensions and integrates many different aspects of my own process, which is the things that I've learned through my own experience on my healing journey and my personal development journey.
My name is Corey McLaughlin, and I would describe myself as an explorer, a risk taker, adventurer. I just really enjoy getting out there and trying new things. It's not easy for me. I've been a pretty shy person, going pretty far back. And so it's been like a big thing for me to just get out of the comfort zone and explore. That's now who I've become.
So my name is Natalia Brajak, and I work as a registered psychotherapist in Ontario in independent practice. And I also work as a retreat integration and preparation therapist for dimensions in Algonquin, and they work with veterans suffering with PTSD. And I also work as a clinician with Atmasina, and they're establishing psychedelic psychotherapy clinics in Ontario currently.
Well, my name is Dane Duvan Osorio. Consider myself a curandero, modern day shaman, as you will. And I'm here to support humanity in its awakening, and here to provide sacred space for people to go deeper within themselves, to heal, and to remember who they truly are. Yeah, psychedelic plant medicines to me they're allies and teachers for us as humans to commune with, open ourselves more than we have the normal capacity to in the day-to-day life. To me, they're invitations to explore deeper, and to explore and perhaps expand wider in the way that we think, the way that we see, hear, feel, touch, taste.
I don't really use the word psychedelic because I don't understand it. So for me, it's plant spirit medicine. What plant spirit medicine for me is an opportunity to enter a dimension of healing and to facilitate healing for myself. Plant spirit medicine for me is the portal to my ancestors. It's also the portal to the truth. There's no mysteries. Life is the mystery. And then with the plant medicine, realizing that just takes away the mystery. It's really like a catch-22, you know?
So, long story, but plant medicine to me is the understanding of what Mother Nature has provided to us, and investigating and trying to figure out what has been there all along, right? Because it's been there all along. We just don't know. Some people know. Some people intuitively knew. Our ancestors intuitively have known. But now we're at a point where we can blend science and technology and really understand what's happening on a molecular level, which is so fascinating to me. So there's plant medicine, and then there is psychedelic plant medicine, which obviously we're going to be talking about that. Two totally different routes, but at the same time, ultimately, the destination is the same. It's wellness and creating awareness and creating new pathways in the body and bringing about different levels of hormones and whatever the outcome is. So that's plant medicine to me.
Personally, plant medicine to me means life. It symbolizes all life to me. I think I was really lost in the meaning of plant medicine to me up until recently. And it was coming to a realization of how beautiful life is, and how much life is a gift. And all plant medicine does is just emphasize the importance of life.
Well, plant medicine is medicine of the earth, and it alchemizes with our body, and it carries spirit and consciousness. Whether it's psychoactive or not psychoactive, it carries spirit. Psychedelic plant medicine carries very intense energy and can carry grandmother spirit energy, grandfather spirit energy, child essence spirit energy, and it can send us into different dimensions. It can work us into our consciousness into different realms, so that we might have clearer insight into our own healing journey, and gain more clarity and perspective.
What's it mean to me? Sum it up in one word: miracle. Without plant medicine ceremony, I could almost guarantee you I would not be sitting in this chair. I would not be breathing. I just know that for a fact.
That answer is diverse. There's plant medicines have consciousness, so there are conscious teachers. Plant medicines are also a tool that can be utilized in positive or negative ways. So in that sense, they are something that we steward and work with, and we are stewarded by. And there's a symbiotic relationship there. And They are they're an opportunity, and they're also something to be mindful of and to truly respect.
Psychedelic plant medicine to me acts as a catalyst. I think in the best scenario, it acts as a catalyst for people to enhance their therapeutic process. Yeah, it's kind of like the middle of the Oreo, right? Prep and integration and living it and preparing for it is like the cookie part, and then I think the actual experience is kind of like the middle.
Plant psychedelic medicine is a tool used to connect further with yourself. It's a tool used to feel life more thoroughly and fully, to just experience life with more awareness. And that's what it's been for me for the last 4 years.
Everyone has their first time. The first time they sat with the medicine. The feeling of being split open, being humbled, having your first glimpse into your own consciousness, and briefly feeling the web of what connects all of us.
First time I was introduced to plant medicine was ayahuasca. It was back in 2021. I was going through a lot of things in my life. I had this huge calling for ayahuasca. It was recommended to me and by a friend. And my life has changed since then.
Like most people, we have recreational usage as a teenager. We start to experiment, and I remember taking mushrooms at a friend's house in high school. It was a good experience. It was just a lot of giggling and stuff like that, and I just remember having a lot of profound thoughts come from that, from the mushrooms. And I still remember how vivid of an experience it was today. Like, it's just so deeply ingrained, and similar to all the ceremonies I do, like, it just stays with you. It's just such a profound experience that it lasts. I mean, I never really understood the sacredness of the medicines until much later in my life, because it was never truly honored in a sacred way.
I mean, I was introduced to it when I was young. I was, I think, 15 or 16. And I had a really incredible experience, but I didn't understand really what was happening. I didn't know how to explain it even to myself. But then I really caught on to it and started exploring it more with more awareness when I was about 35, 36 years old.
When I was first introduced to plant medicines, the first plant medicine that I was introduced to was cannabis, and I was probably 14 years old. Shortly after that, within a year, I was introduced to psilocybin. Throughout my teenage years, I took a lot of psychedelics, and they were incredibly beneficial, but they weren't as effective as they could have been with proper understanding.
So 4 or 5 years ago, there was a calling to ayahuasca. A friend of mine reached out, and he was just absolutely excited about ayahuasca, his experience, so he shared that with me. And that kind of got me going, and I started wondering what it would be like, and I started exploring it. And then before I went to ayahuasca, I ended up doing some psilocybin just to dive in, and incredible experience.
It's a good question, because I think psychedelics were kind of, and have been for many years, kind of combined and classified as drugs, and were kind of viewed upon very badly in regards to the modern world. And the modern world is a world that I grew up in. My family came to Colombia, and so I came from Colombia to Canada. In the modern world, especially being from Colombia, anything relating to drugs was something that, as a Colombian, we were kind of referred to as being in connection to, or being around. And so psychedelics being that, combined with drugs, it was like, there was a resistance there. Until I understood that psychedelics, being plants, were actually part of the earth. I think it was through my exploration with cannabis, in which that I really received that confirmation. There was a deeper sense of like, wow, I'm connecting to nature. And that happened as a teenager through my exploring days, we'll say, and, having spiritual moments with cannabis, but also engaging with it in a very unconscious way.
So before I got introduced to plant medicine, I had a kind of rough childhood, a lot of different traumas, sexual, physical, emotional, all of the above. I went into a path of drugs just to kind of escape. I was probably selling drugs at grade 10. I don't know how old you are there. 13, 14 years old, started selling weed and coke, and then I was had my first overdose at 18 or 19, and then it just kind of spiraled from there. About 10 overdoses on record, heroin and fentanyl overdoses, and I'm not sure how many outside of that, just in people's houses. Then I decided, I've tried rehab a bunch of times, counselors, this, that, everything you could think of I was trying. Nothing was working. I'd be clean for a couple months, relapse, go to rehab, stayed one day, took off running, left, then tried it again. I did 3 months. I thought I had it under control, went back out. I ended up smashing a snowmobile, breaking my spine, riding 2 hours with a broken spine, and then once we got back to the truck, I completely blacked out, passed out. They had to do emergency surgery, so I got bolts and rods in my spine. I didn't take any pain meds the whole time we were at the hospital because I was scared of getting hooked back on it. And then the doctor said it was inhumane for me not to take pain meds, and he forced me. And then that was it. I relapsed again. I went to rehab. I did 9 months, and that's where I met my drug counselor, Lori. She introduced me into spirituality, and that kind of just changed everything. I got into meditation. I got introduced to Gio, who's one of my old business partners, and he introduced me into plant medicine and breath work. So my first experience, I was clean now, going for about maybe close to a year, and I was very nervous about doing plant medicines because it's a drug, supposedly. So that really, really scared me, and I fought with it, and then I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go.
What is ayahuasca? In the heart of the Amazon rainforest lies a sacred brew known as ayahuasca, a potent concoction revered for its profound healing properties. For centuries, indigenous tribes have turned to ayahuasca as a powerful tool for spiritual growth, emotional healing, and physical well-being. In the hands of experienced healers, ayahuasca offers a doorway to the depths of the soul, where hidden traumas and unresolved emotions are brought to light. Through its visionary journey, ayahuasca facilitates a profound process of purging, purification, cleansing the body, mind, and spirit of that which no longer serves. It is a medicine of profound transformation, a catalyst for deep healing and inner awakening. As seekers embark on their ayahuasca journey, they are met with the wisdom of the plant spirits, guiding them toward wholeness, harmony, and a renewed sense of purpose.
And I remember drinking the first cup, and I see this all the time, especially with clients that I have and people that I serve medicine with, especially ex-addicts or people that are just kind of in addiction. They think, I can handle fucking 2, 3, 4 cups of ayahuasca. I can handle 5 grams of mushrooms. I could do this, I could do that. And I had that same mentality my first ceremony, and I'm like, yeah, this is nothing. Like, I've done every drug you could think of.
But as far as my introduction to plant spirit as a tool for healing, that would have been in 2020 when COVID started. That's in that experience where I said my friend is as an intervention She just kept coming to my home and finding me half dead and basically said, like, I'm not doing this anymore. Come to ayahuasca, come to at least one ceremony, and if it doesn't work, I will totally let you kill yourself. I'm gonna stop caring because it's too much. The facilitator at the time, she had a beautiful voice, which really helped me throughout the ceremony.
I remember the shaman asked who wants another cup, and I was like, fucking right, like I want another cup, yeah, I'm going. I remember taking that cup, and I remember going back and laying down, and then it just felt like an elephant just stepped on my stomach, and I just started puking and purging and laid back down, and I just started to break into sweats.
So my first experience was not pleasant whatsoever. I had because of my accident, I was still very, disabled. I walked with the help of a cane, and I had a bad stutter from my brain injuries, showing up like I just want to get this over and done with so my friend leaves me alone. That's the energy I came in with. The music started. I didn't really know what to expect. I was in like, yeah, I'd done mushrooms, I know what's happening, and I certainly did not know. My experience was very dark. I cried for 6 hours, and I certainly won't cry for myself, at least before that. I would cry at a commercial or a movie, but when it came to me, I was very into like the tough girl energy.
And the only thing that was coming up was overdoses. The sweating and how I felt, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna die on this guy's floor. I'm like, fucking, and I couldn't believe what was going on. And usually in an overdose, it happens and you feel it for like a minute. You know you're about to overdose, you pass out, somebody saves your life, you come back. You're just like looking around like, oh, what the fuck happened? I was living that experience, not for, that 1-2 minutes. I was living that the whole ceremony. So I was overdosing for hours, and it scared the shit out of me. Honestly, it was exactly what I needed. And that was my first experience with a psychedelic. With ayahuasca was my very first.
Breaking down and crying for myself for 6 hours completely destroyed my ego. And because I was in so much pain, and just because I felt very raw, the experience, I'm going to say, was not, and it's hard to say, right? Was it a good experience? Well, looking back now, absolutely. But in that moment, no, I just wanted to get out of there. And the next morning when we were leaving, I told the facilitator that she's a lunatic. She's sitting there dancing and singing when people are like purging and crying. And I said, this was a complete insane asylum, and I will never come back here. I was angry at my friend. I wanted my money back, because for that amount of money, I could have, in my mind, done something a lot smarter with it, like bought food. As I was leaving, the facilitator said to me, can you do me a favor? She said, check in with yourself in about a week or two. She goes, I feel that you received immense physical healing. I just looked at her and I said, you're completely insane. Physical healing? I've been laying on the floor for 6 hours. I can't even walk. I came home. That was Saturday morning. And in that week, Thursday morning, was a completely different body, because I woke up and I actually sat up out of bed on my own, which I hadn't done since my accident. I didn't have any accidents, which I would have, because my core muscles were completely crushed and destroyed. But I kind of woke up like normal. I couldn't believe it. And as I walked to the washroom, sorry to be so honest, but I'm walking to the washroom, and when I sat down, I just thought to myself, what just happened? For the first time in 3-4 years, I woke up like a normal person and walked to the washroom on my own and sat down. And it was later on that day when my son came home, and him and I started talking about what was happening to me, that we noticed as well that my stutter was gone. So I received incredible healing immediately. And I was back the next weekend, and I haven't stopped since then.
After a little bit of time with exploring with mushrooms, I was called to ayahuasca. And when I was referred to a a shaman that was offering ayahuasca ceremonies close by. My first ayahuasca ceremony was very, very challenging. And I have a feeling that it was very challenging because I was so ready for it.
That one was tricky. I went in there, and it's hard, we're in our heads a lot. We have a lot of thoughts going on, and this is just the typical state of being, at least for myself, a lot of thoughts, beta brainwaves. And I went in there thinking intellectually, I'm good, I got this, I'm just gonna let go. And I did not let go. I had been doing a lot of my own shadow work. I've been working with psychedelics for a little bit, so I had familiarity and some maybe comfort in knowing what to kind of expect with my consciousness being altered. But ayahuasca was very, very challenging. The most difficult sensations as far as I have to sit with all my discomfort. I have to sit with my pain, and I have to process my trauma. And I had my first cup of ayahuasca, and then they give you a strong tobacco, which is karunga. I laid there and I wondered, what's happening? Is something supposed to happen? So I went back up and got a second cup of ayahuasca, still nothing. I went back and had a third cup of ayahuasca, feeling disappointed, talking to the shamans about it. They gave me a little more karunga with the third cup of ayahuasca, and then I went off into another world. I laid down on the mat and I struggled for probably a couple hours. Eventually, letting my body purge and release it, right? So when you're sitting with ayahuasca, she's showing you where you have to work. And so the work is feeling. And so, you'd be laying on your nest, your bed, and you're just tossing and turning and feeling everything and just groaning and, because your stuff's coming up, and then you're seeing things and you're understanding things. And eventually when you get to the point of I get it, okay, then your body releases because now it's healed that aspect. I just faced myself. It was the first time that I really faced the idea of caring what other people think about me. And that's when I realized I was hunched over and I was afraid to let go of what was now inside, emotionally and physically. And there was a big moment where I realized the only way that I'm gonna actually get through this is if I face it and stop hunching over and be, I don't wanna be tight. And so I opened my arms, I opened my chest, I looked up, and I started just embracing whatever feeling I had. And that's when everything came out, and emotionally and physically a lot happened, and I let something go in that moment. It was one of the most powerful experiences after ceremony, because for the weeks that followed, my body was still purging, my body was still physically healing, my taste buds had changed. I loved wine before, and I couldn't even touch a glass of wine after that. I couldn't touch certain food after that. Certain things of lower vibration, my body was absolutely rejecting. And so after I've done, I don't know however many ceremonies now, over a dozen, but after every weekend I come home after ceremony, my body's constantly shifting vibration, and I'm healing in other ways more and more that just blow my mind, that I had no idea I could do.
Psychedelic plants, in the context of healing and expansion of consciousness, really came to me at a place when I was hitting a ceiling through my spiritual practices of meditation, yoga. In my early 20s is when I started on my spiritual path, we'll say, consciously. When I got to a place of just really understanding there's a deeper calling to go deeper, plant medicines kind of came to me in my dreams. And they're ayahuasca in particular was the first one that really sparked me. I had my first experience with ayahuasca in my 30s. I really understood that, okay, there's a different relationship with these plants through a series of ceremonies and through remembering and coming into deeper connection with my ancestors. And it was just there's just this remembrance of okay, these are teachers, these are tools and allies in which we can work with. And so,
well, after the first time I did experience that medicine, I wanted to do it as many times as possible. That's all I knew. So within, I think, 3 months, I was in Brazil. And so between 2005 and 2007, I had done a whole lot of work in North America and in Brazil. I became pregnant great in 2007. I actually drank twice during that pregnancy. So in my first trimester, I drank a small amount, just let my inner guidance guide me. And I just had a deep trust that it was going to be fine. And no one said, oh, you shouldn't, or you should be afraid. There was not really anything on the internet to look up to make me afraid either. So the one thing I did hear was that there are women in Brazil who drink it all the time, and children drink it. And so that was something that I accepted as a safe, normal practice. When I became pregnant, I found out I was pregnant. I knew right away somehow it was a boy. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't have an ultrasound. And so, but I had this weird fear of having a boy. I'm not sure why. Was this entered like a generational trauma thing? Was it something else? I don't know. But I was worried about having a boy. And I imagined that I somehow wouldn't be a good mom to a boy. And I was like, I don't know how to like play with cars on a surface level. Like I don't really know how to do that. And so anyway, the whole pregnancy, I had this anxiety that I'm having a boy. So fast forward to this third trimester, I'm in the Umbanda ceremony, and so my son, who I didn't know the gender at the time, he was very, restless. And I sat down at one point with the drummers to take a rest. And I think this is how this happens for a lot of people. They have a moment of it's like communing with the medicine. It's kind of like communing with a spirit, or maybe it's your higher self. I don't know, it can be either. Anyway, I sat down and there was like a voice came in, which I recognized as my own. But it came with this like rush of somatic feeling of like, it's okay. It's okay. And I right away was like, oh, I'm talking to him, right? It's okay, you're a boy. I'm sorry I was such a, for being worried that you were a boy. It's totally fine, and I'm so happy, and I really can't wait to meet you in person. And then as soon as that happened, so people that have done this medicine might understand what I'm talking about. When you have the vision of, it's like the Matrix, and it's beautiful, and I see it as golden, and sometimes there's pink and sometimes there's iridescent. It's very bright. So that was in my eyes, and that turned into like little hearts, and they just were like, it's kind of like this unfolding, constantly expanding kind of energy around me, and I just felt this, just like a healing, this light that filled my heart with so much joy. And I feel emotional talking about it because it was a very big moment. So I say, like, in that moment, I healed my anxiety of being a new parent and a parent to a boy.
21 years of policing, and they teach you all kinds of stuff. We learn everything about mental health, and we learn all these little things about, how to be there for people, but we don't learn how to be there for ourselves. I wish I found this 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. I wish I found this when I started my career, because I was never there for myself. When I look back at my policing career, I was never there for myself. I was so driven and accustomed to being there for society and serving and protecting, which is fine. But where's that part where you show up for yourself?
In the quiet corners of forests, beneath the shadows of towering trees, a humble fungus holds profound healing potential. Psilocybin mushrooms, revered for millennia by indigenous cultures, offer a gateway to the depths of the mind and the expanses of the soul. The psilocybin experience opens doors of perception, unveiling hidden truths and illuminating the interconnectedness of all things. In the embrace of these sacred mushrooms, wounds long buried rise to the surface, ready to be acknowledged and healed. It is a journey of introspection and insight, where the boundaries of the self dissolve and the universe reveals its infinite wisdom. In the gentle embrace of psilocybin, healing is not just a destination. It is a sacred journey of awakening, wanting to be embraced by those who dare to venture into the depths of their own consciousness.
I remember it like it was yesterday. It was for sure 7 or 8 years ago, and I was studying in school, almost middle of January, because my birthday is January the 15th. And so my friend at the time, his name's Jeremy, you're always studying. You don't do anything for fun. He's like, I tell you what, I'm going to treat you to a night of mushrooms for your birthday, and we're gonna have pizza, and we're gonna watch Alice in Wonderland. And I said, you know what? I'm due for this. I deserve it. And I had Simba and Raven with me. We proceeded to order pizza, have mushrooms, and watch Alice in Wonderland. And we knew going in that it was gonna be like a journey, a trip, but I had no idea of what was to come. This is a long story. I can say it, right? This is why we're here. I think we probably had, in total, I probably had maybe 1 gram, maybe 1.2, 1.3 maybe at the most, I think. We're watching the movie, and it's really starting to get cool. In the movie, Alice in Wonderland, there are a lot of symbolic, subtle sort of messages when you're on mushrooms. And we picked that movie because he went online, he's like, what's the best movie to watch on mushrooms? Because he wanted it to be fun, to let me to just let loose and just relax and, totally detach, which happened ultimately. So as I'm watching, my intellectual brain is watching this, and all of a sudden I saw a clock. Now I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, you can't hold the hands of time. I'm really getting deep and intellectual with that, and I keep on visiting time. And then I'm thinking, like, okay, where are we in time? Where am I in time? Where is this Earth, this planet in time? Maybe I'm on a time machine, and maybe Earth is an actual time machine, and we're just going through this universe, this galaxy, and this is a real-time time machine. I'm getting really deeper and deeper introspection during this journey, and my friend Jeremy and his girlfriend, they're just laughing. They're just thinking this is the greatest thing, and they're really, really fucked up. They're really messed up. And I love being alone. I'm enjoying the movie. I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to go home. I tell Jeremy, I'm like, Jeremy, I'm gonna go home now. He's like, what? He's like, I can't even see straight. How do you propose you're gonna get home right now? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm great, actually. I just want to go home. I'm high, very high. And so I get in the car. For the viewers, I do not recommend you do this. We should put a disclaimer. Do not drive under the influence of any psychedelics, period. You need to be smart. And that's why the environment when someone chooses to do a journey is so important. But this is my first time, so I'm gonna give myself a mulligan here. The only way that I can get home is by turning on the GPS and listening to the vocal instructions. Oh, and it was New Year's Eve, actually. That's right, I remember it was New Year's Eve, because that was the let loose. So I'm driving home, and now all of a sudden it feels like I'm stuck in a time loop. Time is revisiting again. There's a common theme with time here. I feel as though that I'm stuck in first or second gear in my car, but it's not a manual, but it feels that way. And I'm looking at the revs, and it feels like it's like 4,000 RPM, like high, but going slow. And I think to myself, I'm like, I'm gonna get pulled over because I'm losing my mind. And that was another common theme now in the journey, that I'm losing my mind. I'm not gonna crash, but I'm literally in the same time loop on Mayfield Road. Whoop, repeat, repeat, repeat. Thankfully, there's no cars on the road because it's super late. At the bottom of the hill, and I'm just approaching the stop sign. And all of a sudden I let out a, oh no, almost with a tear of sadness. And I saw at this moment, I'm gonna die. I think I'm probably gonna get T-boned by someone. And this is the moment where I die. And I slow down, and now I'm looking at the windows, looking through my moon roof, thinking like, is there an asteroid that's gonna come fall on me? Like, there's no cars. Okay, maybe I'm not gonna die, but something definitely died. Maybe this is part of me dying. Or maybe I'm gonna die tonight in my sleep. And then I get inside, sort of undress, get to my bed, and then that's when the journey really takes place. Lay down, and it's almost like I'm praying, and I'm looking at my hands. I'm like, oh, ashes to ashes. I come from the earth, and now when I die, I'm going to become back to part of the earth. And now I'm like, this is just the most beautiful thing ever. Raven and Simba are on the bed looking at me, and I'm looking at them, and I'm just crying of the most beautiful thing, because I'm seeing them as, I'm looking in their eyes, and they are two entire galaxies of themselves, two solar systems, two universes. These are these entities that I get to share space with in this life. And it just, what an incredible thing. Now I'm galactic, okay? And now I'm a being in the galaxy. And then I'm looking out my window, and I can see the moon, but I'm seeing past the moon, and I'm seeing that, oh, I am a being of this universe, and I'm a part of the moon, and I'm going past the moon, I'm going past the sun, and I'm going past the galaxy, just in this incredible journey of awareness. Every new awareness, I'm not going to stand up, but I would stand in one spot, and then I would turn, spin, as though I was sort of uploading some information, because I continued to deconstruct words. And then when I kept on saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my, oh me, my God, oh, I am God. I am the creator of this. Holy shit, and I'm just standing there. Then I kissed Simba and I kissed Raven, and I truly thought that I was gonna die. Went to bed, and I just put my hands here, and I said, okay, what an amazing life. I'm so happy. I'm so content. Like, what an experience. What an amazing experience. And at that day, a part of me died. When I experienced that death, it was a death of ego. It was a death of old Brendan, a different version of me. It's not a bad death. It's a great death, right? We're all deconstructing and creating ourselves every day. But with a mushroom journey, then you become more aware of that. And it is a true death, and it is a true birth simultaneously. It's pretty incredible. I haven't shared that story in depth for a while, so.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
In the cycle of life, death is an inevitable companion, a threshold we all must cross. Yet within the realm of plant psychedelic medicine, death takes on a profound significance, a gateway to transformation and transcendence. As humans, we grapple with the mysteries of mortality, seeking solace and understanding in the face of our ultimate fate. Through the lens of plant psychedelics, we confront our mortality with newfound clarity, embracing the fleeting nature of existence and the interconnectedness of all living beings. Death becomes not an end, but a beginning, a journey into the depths of the consciousness, where profound healing and profound truths await.
So it's interesting because in relationship to plant medicines, and specifically shamanic training, it's very recognized that there is a life-death archetypal journey that is experienced. The nature of what I have experienced in my own life, not just in plant medicine space, but my own life, is that life is eternal. That's all there is.
I believe that Our bodies, as humans, are our vehicle, or a meat sack. Heard that expression too, meat sack. It's just like an avatar. Our spirit is what guides it, right? And our exterior is a result of our interior. So within, so without, as above, so below, right? So when we die, we just release it, like taking off a tight shoe. Our spirit just goes, and it's done with this body.
But especially with my mother recently passing, I have felt so connected to that energy. So what I believe happens is that we blend back in with that oneness, with that connection, with life, with God. You call it whatever you want, but we will float back into that energy. You know, for myself, I've been able to connect with people who have died through dreams. And it's almost always within 48 hours after somebody dies, I can connect in with that energy. And that has me believing wholeheartedly that there is a way to connect still. When someone dies, that's the physical body. It's dead, it's gone, but that energy does not go anywhere.
You're asking someone who died. So let me tell you what really happens. I don't gotta think about it. Oh, sister. Okay, I'm gonna take a sip here. No problem. Was in my accident. Once I got thrown from the vehicle, so I was like conscious and awake for the whole thing. And when I got thrown from the vehicle, I actually could feel like something really hot on the side of my head. I realized like that my head was cracked open and I was bleeding. And this sounds like a long period. Like this is all in a split second, the way you're thinking. Like I'm just like, oh my goodness, my head is open. And in that moment, because I was on my back, this vehicle just landed on me. In that split second, I almost felt like an elastic band. Like part of me was attached to this elastic band, and I was like kind of still part of my body, but not. I was almost like going in and out, like stretching and coming back, stretching and coming back. All of a sudden, I just kept stretching and stretching and stretching, and it's almost like you feel like this ding.
Yeah, so like I was saying, my very last overdose was one of the scariest ones for me. And that was the only overdose where I can honestly say I seen something during the overdose or remember sort of the overdose. So I remember shooting cocaine and heroin mixed in together, a speedball. And I shot it, and the next thing you know, I thought I was at my dad's apartment trying to get into the building, and I was walking up the stairs in the lobby, and it was like super bright, and I remember specifically saying, what the fuck, like why is it so bright? And I'm frustrated and I'm mad. I'm like, why I can't even fucking see. But I knew I was in the lobby.
And I had my spirit had disconnected from my physical body. It's such an amazing experience, because as I'm being lifted up and I'm looking down and I'm looking at my body, which is at this point in pieces, I instantly was in peace, and I realized how unimportant my body is. I wasn't trying to get back in. You know, I hear of people struggling, they're trying to get back in. I had none of that. I was like, oh, see you later, I'm good.
And it's gonna sound corny, but I'm being 100% honest with you, because I know there's a lot of similar stories out there, which is more bizarre than anything. Is I was waiting for the fucking elevator, and I'm hitting the button and I'm yelling like, why the fuck is it so bright in here? Like this is crazy. I'm like, where the fuck is the elevator? And my dad lives on the penthouse, so I didn't want to walk that. I'm like, I'm not walking those stairs. And I'm like having this conversation with myself in the lobby waiting for the elevator, and then all of a sudden the elevator, it just smelled like, you know, disinfectant, like alcohol almost. And I was like, what the hell is that? Like, you know, hand sanitizer smell.
And this is why I have pine trees on my altar and tattooed on my body, is because where I had the accident was in this area called the Pine Flats. And it's in northern Ontario where they plant and harvest pine trees for logging, for forestry. So I was surrounded by pine trees. And they were speaking to me, and they just lifted me up, and they told me, like telepathically, just sit with us. And these pine trees are very high. So I was sitting on top of the pine trees, and I was watching everyone run around, and I saw the firemen come, and I saw people crying. And in that moment, I saw, even though no one in my family, so my mother, my children, my sisters, my brother, no one knew about my accident. I was far away from everyone. Like, I was in northern Ontario, and my family's all over the world. I actually, in that moment, jumped timelines, and I saw them receiving the news that I had died. And I saw my mother crying, and I saw my children detaching from life. It was, all this like sadness. And I was sitting still in the trees, and I'm trying to tell them, guys, I'm good. Like, party, this is amazing. Like, everything is beautiful. And, it was a very exhilarating, beautiful feeling. And I felt the light of the stars were not lights of stars. They were actual beams and energies to bring you home.
And then like all of a sudden I started like fading out of the lobby, and that smell was super, super intense of like hand sanitizer. And all of a sudden something in my mind just switched, and it was like, oh, you overdosed again. Because there's a memory of overdosing in that smell, that clean smell, like the ambulance smell, the hand sanitizer smell. And I as soon as I said, oh, you overdosed again, I was out of the lobby, and then there's just a bright, bright light, but I knew I overdosed 100%. And slowly I started to come back, and it was all like, almost like a psychedelic experience. Everything was wavy and choppy, and I was like, oh, and the light was so bright, and then I felt something on my face, and then all of a sudden I seen like a glove pumping the bag, and I'm like, yep, you fucking idiot, you overdosed again. And the craziest thing about that is there was a fireman sitting behind me and the paramedic sitting on the side of me, and they're having a full-blown conversation, and I'm back now, but I'm strapped in, I can't move. I have tubes down my throat, my nose, and he's pumping the bag, and I'm trying to get their attention, but they were too busy talking to each other because they thought I was gone.
I was very, very happy. I felt exhilarated. I thought, wow, dying is beautiful. And then that changed very quickly. Within moments, I was in complete hell. I was in a darkness that consumed me. The best way to explain it is like, you have a body, but you don't have a body at all. But you know of an existence of yourself, and it's obviously not the same as what you had when you were on Earth. As I'm in this darkness, my mind, or my thought process is, why am I here? What did I do on Earth that was so terrible that I'm here? Like, where did heaven go? Where did the stars go? Everything's gone. There's no light whatsoever. And as I was in this darkness, you are it's you, your mind and your thoughts create your hell. All these horrific beings, that I was seeing in movies, and, these demonic entities, and I didn't have to see them, I just felt that they were there. And as I'm still in my mind thinking, oh my goodness, why am I here? How did I end up here? And how do I get out of here? And it's so horrific. I can't even explain how the mind just starts breaking down, and you realize you have no control over anything, and then this knowing comes through that you're going to be in this darkness till the end of time. You never see the light of God again. And the chilling, that's not even the word to explain it. It's just like the horror that consumes you is hell.
So I had to wiggle, and then all of a sudden they finally clued in. They pulled everything out, and I remember the paramedic like touching my chest and being like, dude, like your eyes were white, like you were gone. And I still don't know why he said like your eyes were white, so I'm not sure what it looks like, but he's like, I thought you were gone for sure. He's like, and then the door opened up, and all of a sudden there's doctors, nurses waiting for me outside of the emerge. And they were all looking at the paramedic, and he's like, I don't know, he just came back. He just came back. Right, so that's one of my most, significant overdoses where I definitely have seen something. Definitely was like a psychedelic experience, hands down. They were identical. So that touches up on that.
What seemed for me to be forever, in the distance, see like a shimmering light. And every time I would try to focus on it, though, it would go away. So I just kind of was just in a state of being, as I'm being consumed by the wave of all of this like horrific feelings and thoughts and everything that was going on. And then the light just kind of started getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And then finally, the best way I can explain it, so you kind of have to be probably a bit older than you, but more my age. When we used to go to the movie theater, you would walk in, the curtains were like open, and they would show like the commercials and stuff, but then everything would go dark. They would close the curtains and everything was pitch dark. And now slowly the curtains would rise again, and now here's the main movie. So that's basically the best way I can explain it, is all of a sudden it's like the curtains started opening where this light was, like the veil opened up for me. And then that's when I saw my father, who had passed away 20 years before that, and he was waiting for me. He was wearing his best suit, and he welcomed me into heaven. Parts of me feel like I was sitting with my father for hours, but I'm sure it was only seconds. And to this day, I don't remember everything he said. Sometimes in ceremony, I'll get a little bit of, whatever secrets he shared with me, but his main message was, how much he loved me. I just felt this essence of like Christ consciousness. I'm not going to say this like shape of a man named Jesus came to me, but it was just a knowing that I'm with him, and I had a choice to stay or go.
What do I personally think what happens after death? For a very long time, I used to think nothing because of my other overdoses. It was black, no memories, nothing. You just turn off like a light switch. You're here 1 second, close the light, pitch black, you're gone, that's it. Now that I've been doing more inner work and clearing a lot of my own shit to see these things, from that last overdose, I was going somewhere. I don't know where I was going. They weren't ready for me. This is why the elevator didn't come. Hands down. I do think personally you're going into a more of a blacker void to kind of find yourself again. And then from there, you are going to go somewhere. There's a part of me that truly believes that you are coming back here to try and get it right. And that is a big reason why I'm doing the work that I'm doing. I need to fucking get it right this time.
As much as that feeling was so beautiful, and it's a feeling you never want to part from, I knew my work here wasn't complete. And, my children, of course, helped bring me back. But it was just knowing that there was still something left for me to complete here. So I came back to Earth. And I have to say, oftentimes, and ayahuasca is the only medicine that lets me stay there long enough to like embody those feelings again. But it's happened with ayahuasca that I've actually entered that realm of heaven again.
One thing I say to all my clients, we have it all twisted and wrong. Death is actually our reward for this life. It's scary, this and that. In my eyes, it's our own personal prison here. And you decide how it's going to be. You could live in your prison very happy. You could have your TV, you could have, your commissary, you could have all these things in your own personal jail. right? So you have to decide how that is. But this is our jail, and then when we die, it's actually a reward, and it's beautiful, and you move on to wherever that is. It's like we're all in jail in our own personal hells, if you want to say it, right?
I wish I could, say, oh, and now, I get all the secrets, or I'm sitting with Archangel Michael, or it's not that. It's just that vibration of Christ consciousness. So ayahuasca, she can take you right there, right to heaven.
The fear around death is definitely a lot smaller than it was before. The knowing that our bodies are here for a short period of time, and we can't hold on to the attachment of living forever in this body, let's say. And I think the other factor around death is knowing that the seeds that I've planted in this life, for the trees that are growing, will provide shade for my children, my children's children. Plants will provide for those future generations, and so it's like the legacy lives on. So that is reassuring that what I'm here for meant to do is creating something for the future. And so when my time is up, it's just a continuation. And I take that from my ancestors that did what they had to do and lived a life in which gave me life in this present moment, and walked the millions of steps that they've walked to forge the paths that they forged, so that I may be here to share what I'm meant here to share. So
I would say that my answer to what happens after we die is I don't know for sure. I do have a sense and a faith. So I think that's what's really grown for me, is faith. And that there's a faith that there is a continuation, and that it is something beautiful.
We all in this human life come with the ego naturally, and we have to learn how to have a better relationship with it. When I did my first larger dose of psychedelics, I had a massive epiphany, and it had a lot to do with my mother. And she had been sick for quite some time. When I did this big dose, I called her the following day. I never even thought about this before, but I called her the next day, and I just apologized to her for judging her. I wanted the best for her, but I had no idea about what her life was truly like. I know what you need to do to have a better life. And I called her that following day after a big trip, and I said, I'm so sorry for judging you. And it caught her off guard, but our relationship changed dramatically from that day. It wasn't long after that I found out that she had cancer, and I had the capacity to really spend the time with her, and I authentically and genuinely wanted to get to know her better through that final year of her life. But I had that capacity to do that and be there in tight quarters with her for about a year. And then she just recently passed. But I look at that as one of the most beautiful, incredible experiences that I've ever had, along with the hardest experience and most challenging that I've ever had. Yin yang, they came as a package. But taking plant medicine, it helped me to change from within and stop looking externally for things to change. And when I started making those changes with the help of those tools, of the psychedelics, everything changed. My relationships changed, including the one with my mother. And that was one of the most beautiful, incredible experiences I ever could have imagined, was to have that capacity and be there. Thank you to the mushrooms, thank you to the ayahuasca. I wouldn't have been in that same position to do that if I hadn't done plant medicine. I know that.
In the realm of plant psychedelic medicine, surrendering is the ultimate goal. It is the act of releasing the grip of the ego, relinquishing control, and allowing the profound wisdom of the medicine to guide us. In surrender, we transcend the boundaries of our individual selves and merge with the vast and the infinite tapestry of existence. It is here, in the depths of surrender, that transformation occurs, where healing takes root and profound insights emerge. Surrender is not an act of weakness, but a profound courage, a willingness to let go and trust in the inherent wisdom of the universe. In the dance of the psychedelic experience, surrender becomes our guiding light, leading us to a deeper understanding of ourselves. But what is on the other side of surrender?
It's very difficult for people to surrender. This space that you are choosing to be in, and this journey that you're choosing to go on, you are, for the first time, maybe for the first time in your life, you are allowing yourself to take off your shining armor, your protective shell, and you're going to put it right beside you, and you're going to surrender, and you're going to feel comfortable knowing that you can relinquish all of your protective cloak and just surrender to that. And by doing so, your armor is going to get rebuilt and restructured and re-strengthened, all while you're able to just be a little boy and just find yourself and be yourself and do whatever it is that you want to do.
Well, that's a good question. What's on the other side of surrender? The word that comes to mind is liberation. Liberation for yourself. If you aren't surrendering, you're resisting. Right? So if you're not surrendering, you're resisting something, you're fighting back something. And the surrendering is saying, okay, I release that need to fight, and I'll just allow whatever happens to unfold. And that is where the liberation comes from, because you're freeing yourself of the struggle. You're freeing yourself of the battle. Because again, it's all internal. And so when we surrender, we allow what needs to come through. We're learning. We're letting it just to unfold naturally. It's hard though. It's very hard. Yeah.
So the process of surrendering is one of the greatest spiritual teachings. It's offered to us throughout our entire life all the time when, we have a plan and we're trying to make our plan happen. And then life has a plan as well. And the co-creation process allows us to see that we have to be flexible. And so in the plant medicine space, flexibility is created through, the breath. Really, utilizing the breath as a tool to support the regulation of our emotions as we move through various energies, and also through the initiatory experiences of a psychedelic experience, which is very much the hero's journey. We travel, we go down into the underworld, and then we come up, and and then we return with gifts and understandings, and so if we understand the nature of that, then when we show up encouraged to it, if we have trust in the facilitator and the healer who is supporting the space, if we have a clear intention for our own healing, and we utilize the breath and we trust the process, then usually everything just works out fine.
Surrendering the ego, point blank, period. Letting go of that shit, going in ceremony and, surrendering all limited beliefs. Whether it could be in any kind of ceremony, it could be in plant medicine ceremony, it could be in breath work, right? When you surrender, when you just let go of all these little beliefs that your mind is, surrendering fear, surrendering anger, surrender whatever it is that your ego is creating for you, surrender it. And that doesn't need to be in ceremony. It could be right now. It could be in the gym working out. Once you surrender, that's when all the information starts coming in. That's when all the truth starts coming in. That's when all the answers that you're looking for start trickling in. When you're not surrendering, you have this wall. You have this barrier up, right? Once you surrender, you take that barrier down and just allow what needs to come in and just be.
Yeah, no, to me, there's no such thing as a bad trip. To me, that's mind-made. That's all in the head. It's your perception of what's happening. So a bad trip, like I was freaking out, I was crying, it was painful, emotions came up. Yeah, that doesn't make it bad. If you're crying, is that good or bad? That's up to your own perception of how you view it. So, no, a bad trip to me is something that's mind-made. Someone decides that that's what it is, therefore that's what it is. That's their perception. A difficult or challenging trip is more about when you embrace that challenge or difficulty. It is what it is, it's happening, let it be there. Don't shy away from it, don't look somewhere else, just look at the pain that you're experiencing, and then you'll actually realize that it's a little more relaxing and subtle than you thought it might be.
I think on the other side of surrendering is the opportunity to see outside the box. There's a vastness of unknown that is there for us to explore. If we surrender, we have more access to what we don't have if we're not surrendering. When we surrender, we can open up fields of consciousness that is pretty much unlimited. And usually on the other side of a wall or on breaking through a ceiling, there's something there for us. And we can't get there unless we surrender, unless we allow ourselves to go deep or allow ourselves to break through those ceilings.
And why would I say bad? Obviously now, sitting where I am and looking back, there's no such thing. There is no such thing. But in that moment, in that experience, yeah, certainly. I've sat many times where I've prayed to God for this to end as soon as possible. And each time was because I was being faced with something or an emotion or a memory or a trauma or a part of me that I did not want to sit with.
Yeah, surrender is definitely the key in any plant medicine that you do. And from my own experiences and from obviously serving the medicine and knowing, about surrendering, it's always about kind of following back to your breath. And when things are too intense, just breathe, focus on your breath. This is why I'm a breathwork facilitator. Hand in hand, this is why I do breathwork and ayahuasca retreats, ayaboga retreats, because it is your biggest tool during plant medicine ceremony because of the intensity. And the reason why it's like that is because you are not surrendering.
For example, just maybe to make it more clear for people that really have zero experience, I was attacked by someone, by a man. The attack was brutal. He actually tried to kill me. So I really blocked that though from my mind. As I got older and as life went on, and I'm a mother and everything, I really just left that in a box back there that I don't open. One of my earlier ceremonies, I'm laying there and I'm being attacked. I see I feel these men around me and they're shaking me, and I'm like, oh, I'm just like, what is happening and why is this happening and this has to stop? And I started to get very scared, and I actually wanted to put up my hand and ask to leave or go home or for help because it was so horrific, and I can feel in every single layer of my being this attack. And finally, when I was just about to scream and run for the door, and I really just surrendered and said, please, God, why am I seeing this? The actual real attack that happened to me so long ago, the memory came to me, and I remembered every single part of it, which I had completely forgotten. And when after that ceremony, or in that ceremony, when she finally showed me what had happened to me, like 20 years before, oh, certainly maybe 25 years before that ceremony, and I just sat with with what had actually happened to me, and I started to cry, and I just felt so much love for myself for going through that, and still becoming and living the beautiful life that I did. By the end of that ceremony, I was filled with love for myself. I was filled for compassion for this poor man who did this. because he was obviously being tormented. If he could bring himself to an act like that on another human being. And in that bad trip, in that bad ceremony, I received the most beautiful healing. I was able to forgive someone that somewhere on this earth, I'm sure he felt something, you know, because my heart really reached out to his.
You are not letting go. And the reason for that, personally, everything I talk about always personally, is because we love control, right? And you're starting to lose control. You don't like where you're going, things like that. And when you fight it, it just fights you back and you're never going to win. I've not watched anybody win. I've never won when I thought I could win. So it's about surrendering. Easier said than done. When we say just surrender, oh, just breathe, just surrender, it's so easy. It's not, you know, and you'll learn. The best way to describe surrender is when you're in one of these medicines, it's just surrender to be okay to die. When you can wrap that around your head where, okay, fuck it, I'm dying here, and as soon as you say that and you actually mean it, like it's okay to die right here, I'm okay, you've fully, completely surrendered. And after that, you'll have your huge experience, your huge breakthrough, because all you're doing is fighting with yourself. You are your biggest enemy, right? You should be your biggest cheerleader, your biggest supporter, your biggest fan. And bring that into your ceremonies, because all we do is be negative to ourselves. And we want to think about all the bad in our lives when, you know what, the positive's going to outweigh that hands down.
As the veil between worlds begins to thin, one element emerges as a guiding force: music. Sound becomes more than just melody. It becomes a sacred companion, guiding travelers on their inner travel. The rhythmic pulse of drums, the ethereal melodies of flutes, and the celestial harmonies of voices intertwine, weaving a tapestry of sonic vibrations that transcend the boundaries of time and space. With each note, participants are drawn deeper into the recesses of their own consciousness, surrendering to the ebb and flow of the psychedelic experience. Music becomes a vessel for emotion, a conduit for healing. It speaks directly to the soul. In the dance of sound and spirit, participants find solace, guidance, and profound connection, a testament to the profound role music plays in the sacred journey of the psilocybin experience.
Ooh, yes, because I love music. It plays a vital role in ceremonies. I've experienced both in Ayahuasca and Iboga, different types of music being played during ceremony, and the music is used to help guide the medicine, help you through your journey with the medicine, through the music, right? I also utilize music through breathwork ceremonies as well, and it's just a way of connecting you to the medicine.
The curanderos are the shamans that sing in ceremony, whether it's drumming, singing, or playing other instruments. They always sing because our voice is our instrument too, and the voice, what we sing is our prayers. And so they are frequency that go out, and we can all feel the vibration of the music. And so the vibration is also medicine for our physical body, our chakras, our soul, our spirit will it's just like when you listen to music and you hear a song, it's just like, oh, that moves me.
So music is the international language. You know, we often hear people saying that. So that is true. And it goes beyond this dimension. When we're sitting with the plants and the portals open and because we are multidimensional esoteric beings. So in that realm, as a multidimensional esoteric being, the one language we all understand and we all relate to and we can all vibrate with is music.
The relationship is so deep, and in different traditions, there's different ways of describing it. For those in the ayahuasca space, they hear about the icaros, which are healing songs that are offered to the healers to be able to work with the energetic centers and to be able to guide healing experiences and to do all kinds of beautiful things. Medicine music is music that is inspired through spirit with the intention to provide healing and love to the planet. It is a very specific intention that makes it medicine. And it's not to say that there aren't great songs out there that don't offer this all the time, but within this specific genre, the focus is on specifically doing that. And what's interesting too is the arrival of the songs as being transmissions that are offered, but then sometimes require a lot of refinement and practice as like a way to fully embody that medicine transmission.
So music is the most important tool in a plant spirit ceremony, in a prayer circle. Who is singing, what they are singing, the sound of the instruments is everything. I've done ceremonies in silence, so not to take away from that, very powerful. Nothing can come even close to what I've experienced when the person holding space and holding the circle is playing their instrument, and their instrument is an extension of their soul, and they start creating an alchemy of healing. Nothing can compare to that. Really, honestly, with plant medicine ceremony, you need the medicine and you need your voice.
Yeah, music is key. Music, it plays, I'd say, at least 75% of ceremony. The music, because of the vibrations, the tones and stuff like that, really do something with our minds, especially on a psychedelic. It does play a huge role. I find with my personal ceremonies that I do, my music is very up and then down. I'm bringing you to a certain point, and that's all about the person who's guiding you in this experience. The person who's guiding you in the experience, if they know what they're doing, they know what they're doing with the music. With sound bowls, instruments, flutes, koshi bells, whatever, guitar, whatever the case may be, and it's all about feeling the energy in the room. And when you're kind of getting somebody a little bit too far up there, you bring them back down more silently, and it's just kind of like a wave, and that wave will literally guide you and guide the shapes or the colors, and that's all through vibration and through the music and stuff. It's like if you were to sit in a room for 3 hours and say eat 3 grams of psilocybin, and then the next day do it again, one in silent, one with music, you're having night and day experiences, right? So music is probably one of the biggest tools or the biggest keys in any sort of ceremony.
These frequencies and different types of music will change your body. It'll change the energy flow in your body. So I think we can all relate to, if you're going through something that's very challenging and sad, that, we'll throw on a sad song. And why do you connect with that? It's the frequency of your body connecting with certain tones and frequencies. If you want to feel at an extremely deep level, especially when you're on a psychedelic, you put on different kinds of music and you're going to feel different things in your body. Different emotions are going to get stirred up, and that will give you a chance to release those emotions, whatever's been sitting inside of you. So music is just like that extractor of emotion.
In a world plagued by division and disconnection, a profound shift is underway. A reawakening of consciousness, guided by the transformative power of plant medicine. As individuals embark on their inner journey with medicine, They transcend the limitations of ego and tap into the boundless realms of universal wisdom. With each visionary experience, hearts open, minds expand, and spirits soar, lighting a ripple effect of healing and unity. As the vibration of collective consciousness elevates, old wounds are healed, and harmony is restored to the fabric of existence. The journey with psilocybin is not just a personal quest for enlightenment. It is a collective awakening, a sacred pilgrimage towards a brighter, more harmonious world. As we raise our consciousness, we raise the vibration of the earth, and together we heal.
God is everything, and God is love. Plants are the same. Plants carry the spirit of God too.
Religion, it's been very boxed in. There's very particular things that people believe that they need to do or say or feel, whereas consciousness and awareness, it's just being in the moment. It's as in the moment as you possibly can be. And to me, that's where God would exist. Call it whatever you want. It's in the awareness of every moment.
I think we are all our own gods in our own way, ultimately. But in terms of, let's say, heaven and hell, and the actual externalization of religion, and saying that, oh, if you are a sinner, you're going to go to hell, or if you are a good person, you're going to go to heaven. That's all external. That's all bullshit. In actuality, we have both heaven and hell within us. And when you are living a low vibrational life, if you are living through instant gratifications, in pursuit of very animalistic behaviors, sex, drugs, rock and roll, and you're really living through your amygdala of your brain, right? That is our animalistic part of our brain. Then you're just at a low frequency. And so you can totally experience hell on earth because you're just living and you're pursuing these things. They're instant gratification. They're empty.
Religion is a program with an intention, in some cases, to help one to realize divinity or connection with God. The corrupted programs of religion introduce human shadows. So greed, for example, and utilizing fear as a means of, acquiring money or status or power or any of these things. And without going into all the details on that, just by virtue of that, many of the religions do not have direct experience. Consciousness itself is everything. If one is to think about what is there always, consciousness. It's a time in a shift where there is a massive shift in consciousness where individuals are having direct experience that really is in many ways transcending the programs of limited constructs around religion. Not that all religion is bad, because I think really there's wonderful, wonderful tools in religion. And I personally in my own practices utilize aspects of many religions.
I think there's a reason why plant medicine is on the rise right now. Our collective consciousness is shifting, and plant medicine is coming out more and more to help us with these changes, to help us heal, to help us let go of all the pain and suffering that we've been carrying for however many decades. There's a reason why, more psychedelic mushrooms are now coming out of the earth that are new, because the earth is responding to us, right? Because we're connected to the earth. There's a reason why you're seeing other plant medicines being talked about so much more freely, just like this interview, right? Like people are learning more, and there's a calling for people for us to go back to our roots and to clear. I think the medicines are especially powerful in North America right now because we have so much healing to do. We have so much indoctrination to release that the plant medicines expedite it. It helps us heal faster. Like a ayahuasca ceremony is like 10 years of counseling.
Religion's a beautiful thing, but we all have religion within us. God is already in us. There's no such thing as heaven and hell. When we die, you're not going to be condemned to hell, because if you're already living in pursuit of those things, you're already in it, right? You're already at the low vibrational state. That's why if you look at our chakras, the root chakra is colored red, which ultimately symbolizes the earth and lava and so forth. And if you go to the middle, the heart chakra is green. It's kind of like as above, so below. But if you go to the crown chakra and the third eye, they're blue and purple. And purple represents ether, space. So it's this really ultimately the pursuit of understanding us on ethereal frequency and understanding. That's where religion is.
The question about why we're here and what life is about, some pretty big questions. And I feel like it's not to say that I've figured it out, but I think it's the fact that I realized that there is no figuring it out and that it's just being in the moment. Every fucking moment that you can possibly be connected to is just to be in it.
That's a good question. I kind of wish he was here to answer for himself. If I could speak for him, my sense is, and this is part of that experience we had when he was in utero, and that was what I messaged to him was, it's okay. You know what this medicine is, otherwise you wouldn't be here, because you can't argue reality, right? I don't like to argue with reality. So I said, like, that my blessing or my prayer for him in that moment was, you're going to forget a lot of who you really are when you come here. And this is a way to remember. My prayer for you is that you remember as much as you can about your true nature. I've left it to him to decide when it's the right time. He's hinted at it, that he's eventually going to, but that he's really wants to come to it in his own time. He's definitely been around it.
This one get me emotional.
Emotions in head?
Most emotions are great. Yeah, love. Plant medicine actually showed me to just love myself. I didn't even know what love was for 35 years. No fucking idea. Plant medicine has showed me how to be loved, to allow myself to be loved, how to show love. That love had nothing to do with sex. That it was all inside of me the whole time. And that how strong love is, that feeling of actual love is all there because of plant medicine for me. Without plant medicine, I wouldn't have no idea what love is. Trying to love myself from being that person who tortured and destroyed myself for so many years was a very difficult change. The love that I feel for myself is incredible. In an ayahuasca ceremony, I remember having empathy and compassion for old Joey and how much I loved him and how I felt so sorry for him. And I remember bawling my eyes out, and all I wanted to do was just hug him and tell him that he was loved. And that was a huge experience for me at that time.
But the massive change, the real true medicine, recognizing that that's okay, I'm just trying to help my kids, and then pulling back, coming back to myself, and just continuing every day to work on myself, continuing every day to do the best that I can do with what I got, not judging myself. And as I kept feeding myself more and more of that, I noticed my children changing. So walking through life like that is the absolute best teaching, best change I've had in my whole life. But if we're going to talk about what plant medicine has brought me, it's certainly that. And then witnessing that in my family, my children, my mother, my friends, my animals, like even my dogs became calmer and as my vibration changed, everything around me starts changing. So I take responsibility then for everything.
Will psilocybin save the world? Psilocybin and psychedelics, there's a great opportunity for these tools to help us human beings wake up to what's happening in the world, but more importantly, to what's happening inside of our own bodies, our own chest. That's where it begins. And so, will it save the world? No, but it will definitely help us to see the truth and to awaken to what is really happening within ourselves. And then we are the ones that can save the world collectively as one, if we will allow ourselves to get there.
So the question is, are you being called?
This is Natalia. Take 2.
Love, the universe, they're all the same thing. Connect with yourself.
I say this to every journeyer after they journey. What do you think would happen if everyone in the world took one mushroom journey?
And explore the medicine and the spirit of the plants.
It was so exciting. Yeah.
If you're watching this, I hope you found some things valuable, and to just pursue this more and educate yourself and watch more videos and read some books, ask questions.
It's constant effort to make your life better and to apply those things.
Oh my God, as soon as you go for that camera, every time.
So through my life and everything that I've learned, if I could have just helped one person, I can die very happy.
Remembering that we are the ones that have to do the work, and not blaming the plants for not giving you the job that you wanted, or for not fixing your relationship, or...
Do you think behind you could just move that plant to our, the other way?
This way?
Was it growing out of the top of my head?
Almost.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's kind of appropriate.
I thought